Good afternoon. We'd like to welcome you to our annual Veterans Day Assembly. While this day is observed nationwide, it seems to be a little more special at Morgan Park Academy because of our history as a military school. We hope that today both remembers and honors those who have served, both those who are here with us today, as well as those who never came home. We are grateful to our guests, including our guest speaker, Captain Elisabeth Pennix of the U.S. Navy, the color guard from our local VFW, which is Veterans of Foreign Wars, post number 2024, located on 344 West 119th Street, and all of the family veterans and guests in attendance. At this time, we would ask that you silence all cell phones and stand silently for the presentation of the colors and the singing of the national anthem. Thank you.
Cruising on!
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Right face. Forward, march.
Thank you. You may be seated. Veterans Day is a special day to honor and thank all who have served in the United States Armed Forces. It began as a celebration of the end of World War I on November 11th, 1918, but has expanded to thank all those who serve and are currently serving today. Veterans Day is November 11th of every year. Once known as Armistice Day, President Woodrow Wilson marks the first celebration by saying, "To us in America, the reflections of Armistice Day will be filled with solemn pride in the heroism of those who died in the country's service, and with gratitude for the victory, both because of the things from which it has freed us and because of the opportunity it has given America to show her sympathy with peace and justice in the councils of the nation."
In 1945, veteran Ronald Weeks brought an idea to then Army Chief of Staff Eisenhower. He suggested making it Veterans Day to celebrate all veterans who served in all the wars, not just World War I. From there, it gained support and was ratified as a national holiday in 1954. Now the holiday serves to remind us to honor all those who served and are currently serving in our armed forces.
The red poppy flower became the symbol to remember those who had lost their lives in World War I. Today, it still acts as that symbol, but now includes all who served. It comes from the famous poem In Flanders Fields, a wartime poem written during World War I by Canadian Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae. This poem has come to hold great significance around the world. In 1920, the red poppy was adopted by the American Legion.
Published in 1915, this poem has come to hold great significance around the world in remembrance of Veterans Day and Armistice Day. In Flanders Fields, the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the lark still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead, short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up your quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours, hold it high, if ye break faith with us who die. We shall not sleep, though poppies grow, in Flanders Fields.
Today, our guest speaker is Captain Elisabeth Pennix, U.S. Navy Reserve JAG Corps. Captain Pennix began her practice of law in the U.S. Navy JAG Corps in 2004. She served for 8 years on active military duty, including a deployment to Iraq during the surge of forces from 2006 to 2007, and a reserve deployment to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, with the military commissions from 2015 to 2016. Currently, Elisabeth is actively engaged with multiple nonprofit organizations, including one she co-founded, Operation Her Story, which is dedicated to honoring women who served in the U.S. military. She also serves on the Chicago Advisory Board for Veterans Affairs and National Women's Veterans United, NWVU. She's most proud of being a mother, a wife, and a kind coach for her kids' teams. Please welcome to the stage, Captain Elisabeth Pennix.
Introduction. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here speaking to all of you, and I'm really glad there's lights and I brought my reading glasses because as I've aged, now I need these. I want to thank Tara Hines O'Brien for inviting me, and her son Tayden is here, and I know he's obsessed with the military. So it's really my honor to be representing the veterans in our community and speaking to you today. So as the introduction suggested, I'll tell you just a couple of little sea stories, but I do want to take you back to where this all came from. So as you heard, I'm a captain of the United States Navy. That's a colonel equivalent for the other branches of service. I don't know why we have to be so different, but we are. When I was a little girl, I was new to grade school, and I walked in. I'd never been there before, and there was a dinging of the bell, and I was like, what is this? All the kids around me stood up. They had their hands on their hearts, and they said the Pledge of Allegiance. I had never heard it before, but the words that were ringing in my head still mean a lot to me today because of what it represented. I had a pretty awful childhood, but I heard in those words, we can be one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, and I still believe that. It was on that day, when I was in first grade, that I felt the call to service. As a first grader, I had no idea what that looked like, so I went about my merry life, graduated high school, went to college, graduated college, decided I needed to be more than an athlete and an artist, so I applied to law schools, and I came to Chicago. I still wanted to serve, but I still didn't know what that looked like. 9/11 happened. It was the morning of September 11th, 2001. I was a young 20-something in law school, and on the radio there was the announcement that an airplane had flown into a building in New York City. What an accident. So I went to work, and I took the L. I lived on the north side, I went downtown. There were thousands of people in the streets, and you could hear a pin drop. It was the most eerie scene downtown Chicago. I ran into my boss as he was leaving the Sears Tower, and he said, "We're evacuating, go back home." The second tower had been hit by a second airplane, and it was clear that this was not an accident. I spent the next few days horrified, watching the television, watching the buildings collapse, watching the smoke, the fire, seeing the people, the screams, the horror. This attack on thousands of unsuspecting innocent citizens was so beyond my comprehension as to how can some terrorists, people that had developed a radical idea to harm others, could orchestrate something so horrific and then pull it off. And that weekend left such a mark on me, and I immediately figured out that I needed to join the military because I want to be part of a worldwide organization that eradicates terrorism, because that's what it looks like to me. So I applied to the Navy JAG Corps, and the JAG Corps is called the Judge Advocate General's Corps. It's an old English word for lawyers in the military. And in Chicago, the acronym JAG means something a little different than it does in the military, but we won't discuss that in front of this crowd. And I had some great adventures in the JAG Corps. So I graduated from law school in 2004 and immediately went on active duty. In 2006, I had the opportunity to deploy to Iraq to support an Army unit because they didn't have enough lawyers to do the job that we needed to do. This is where I want to talk to you a little bit about international law. There's a law called the Geneva Convention. It is a treaty, it is an agreement, and it's international law. The United States and Allied forces signed on to this agreement together after World War II in the face of the brutality of how some countries treated their prisoners of war. So we all signed this Geneva Convention, and it has been updated, and that was the mission that I went to Iraq to uphold. And what that mission was to give every single person sitting in a jail cell in Iraq that had been arrested by United States forces due process of law. It sounds like a dry term, and I'll explain what that means. So in my job, I was working in downtown Baghdad, Iraq. It was sandy, it was dusty, it was 115 degrees on a cool day in the summer. And our long sleeve uniforms trapped our body heat, which was cooler than the outside air. And counter to your intuition, it was way cooler to wear a lot of clothes. That's why the people that are in the desert are actually wearing all those clothes for their protection. That was shocking to me. Coming from Minnesota, I was really craving a cool breeze, even winter. But in Iraq, I worked in a palace, Saddam Hussein's palace, that had been cordoned off as offices for the occupying forces. I worked with forces from all over the world: Australia, South Korea, England, France, Italy. I made friends from all around the world. And our job was to review these detainee case files to make sure that the intelligence and the evidence actually supported them being in jail. And if it did not support that, we would recommend to this Iraqi panel of elders that they be released from jail. So the Iraqis were in control of their own destiny, and through a process which was diligent and based on evidence, and that's called due process of law. Because under the Geneva Convention, that is what's required when you occupy a force. So that was a great adventure. I met people from all over the world. I actually met my husband there. He's from Chicago. And so fortunately, I was able to come back here eventually. Fast forward a few years, I've now gotten married to my Chicagoan husband. He was an Army guy. There was some debate as to whether that was a good choice or not, but I love him dearly. And we have a lot of beautiful children together, And 3 of my children actually are in the service as well. They all started out in the Illinois, 2 of them started in the Illinois National Guard Army, and then 1 of them joined the Marine Corps and served 4 honorable years there. So I'm very proud of them. I have 3 more at home, and we'll see what happens. 2015, I had 2 small children of my own and 3 stepchildren, all living at home, and I got called to deploy again. This time, it was to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. And the acronym for that is GTMO. We call it GITMO in the service. So if you ever hear anybody talking about GITMO, that's what it is. And I was part of a legal team for the Office of Military Commissions that was in charge of putting on the party, if you will, so planning the operations and the operational security and the intelligence travel and the process for holding trial hearings for the people who orchestrated 9/11. So there are many men who are still sitting in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba in confinement, but they are not being tortured because that's not allowed under the Geneva Convention. They are getting due process of law, and one day I hope we'll find justice for the American people. The thing that was so incredible about that job was that I got to see the people that actually orchestrated this crazy, awful, traumatic attack on the United States. And more importantly, I got to meet their families, I got to meet survivors, and I got to talk to them about the reality of what happens when people are radicalized and commit acts of violence, especially in the name of God, in the name of anything, really. So on a grand scale, I do feel like I was part of a process that actually ensured justice and peacekeeping in the world. So that was just an incredible full circle experience for me. Having my motivation for joining was 9/11. So that was really, really incredible. I also got to rediscover that I'm an artist. I would paint paintings because I had a lot of free time. I didn't have my 5 children there with me. I didn't have my husband. And after a day of trial, I could watch the sunset on the beach, and I could go back to my little containerized housing unit and paint a picture. And I sure did that. So it was a beautiful deployment, and it was heartbreaking to be away from family, but I wouldn't give it back. There are many ways to serve if you feel called to serve. You can serve in your local community, you can serve nonprofits, you can serve in your corporate capacity by donating money, by rallying people to do things to help the community. You could join the military, you could join the police force, the firefighters. There are so many. You could be a teacher that teaches the value of due process of law, of liberty and justice for all. And you could do so many things to serve. But if you want to serve in the military, there are many opportunities to see the world, to meet people from all over our country. Diversity is not just color, it's religion, it's upbringing. I'm a white girl from Minnesota. I am very different than a white girl from New Orleans who grew up completely different than I did. So I want to challenge you all to think about the world, think about the humanity, because one of the things that Iraq taught me was that these people who had suffered under the regime of Saddam Hussein for decades, when he overthrew the government and took power forcibly, illegally, they suffered. They suffered from his barbarism, they suffered from the attacks of his sons, they suffered from a lack of due process of law, a lack of law and order. And they had the scars, the amputations, the sad eyes, the hopelessness to show for it, when all they wanted was love and peace for their families. I'll never forget one of my greatest experiences in Iraq was being able to watch the tribunal of Iraqi judges sit there in front of Saddam Hussein once he had been captured. He had gone in hiding, and he was captured in a hole in the ground. And then they put him on trial for the genocide of the Kurds, which were a people that lived in the northern territorial part of Iraq. And watching a little old man speaking his Arabic dialect that was different than the dialect that Saddam Hussein spoke, listening to the interpreters and watching this little old man with his finger confront Saddam Hussein, whose Fedayeen had captured his family and killed them in front of him. this 80-year-old man finally was getting his day. So I would challenge you all. Keep your minds open, keep your arms open, and answer your call to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Pennix. Morgan Park Academy's own history as a military academy means that many of MPA's alumni served in our nation's wars, from the Spanish-American War to our recent wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. In addition, members of our extended community have served and/or are currently serving. We thank them for their service.
Morgan Park Academy's 8th graders continue the tradition of honoring veterans by laying a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier during Global Project Week.
Now, members of our National Junior Honor Society will read the names of MPA veterans who served in wars, beginning with the Spanish-American War in 1898, and alumni who have recently served or are currently serving.
Spanish-American War, John Logan. World War I, Lester W. Allen, Walter B. Birkeland, Clarence J. Bremer, Lloyd C. Butte, John R. Hubbard, Lothar R. Long, Charles Vaughn Hoffman. World War II, Charles J. Anderson, George E. Baxter Jr., Roy W. Both, Willard B. Brannett, Robert W. Cayley, John D. Cutler.
Robert C. Dempsey, Richard J. Engelman, Wilmer Essler, Philip A. Falk, Walter Gehrig, Wilson A. Ginsair, Perry Kenneth Gilson, Robert Goss, Warren L. Guderian, Ray Hallbauer, A. Paul Hines Jr., George H. Herman Jr. Arthur Lowell Howard, Alfred D. Houston, Frank J. Jerome III, Albert W. Casper, Richard E. Kearns, John G. Canelos, Alfred R. Lakemeyer, Frank T. McHugh Jr., Howard A. Martin, David B. Miles, Charles H. Mueller, John M. Nelson. Robert M. Parchman, Emerson Parker, Alfred C. Proudfoot, Herbert S. Reed, Robert C. Shiplock, Oliver Willard Shrewsbury, Leroy Steelman, Elmer D. Stillwell, James A. Smith, Robert S. Sullivan, Leonard F. Telfer, Robert C. Wallace.
World War II. Albert E. Weinberg, Charles L. Westcott, Clarence F. Wheatman, Frank Wozniak, Arthur A. Gerson, Donald W. Yarrow, Korean Vietnam, Lauren B. Bierce, Thomas D. Blazina, John Coghill, Harry Davis, Lawrence A. Frank Jr., Thomas E. Haley, Thomas A. Hume, William H. Johnson, Timothy P. McGuire, John R. Marshitz, James W. Harley, Ira R. Torn.
Recent alumni who have served or are serving presently: Joe Gradle, Jack Waterman, Anastasia Stanley, Brianna Kramer, Maggie Keeley, Justin Foote, Brendan Gerard.
The list of names that you just heard are some of the American veterans whom we have come to honor here today. They represent the millions of American men and women who have served our country over the past 200 years. These men and women were not seeking personal gain or even fame. Their country called and they answered, taking their civic responsibilities seriously and recognizing their patriotic duty. Those men and women who survived and who are represented here today returned home convinced that they had done something worthwhile, something that was meant to make this world a better place to live. They served in the cause of freedom for all mankind, and for them, that was reward enough.
Whether the United States is at war or at peace, the vital role of our veterans cannot be overlooked. Today's newest generation must understand that the veterans we remember and honor today are the embodiments of the spirits that has guided our nations for nearly 250 years. This spirit has and will continue to keep America free. At this time, we would also like to acknowledge the veterans who have joined us today. As we play the medley to salute our armed forces, we ask that you and your family stand and be recognized when your anthem is heard.
now observe a moment of remembrance as the upper school choir sings Blades of Grass.
The Morgan Park Academy community would like to offer our thanks to all veterans, and we offer their families a special word of thanks for the support they provided during the good times as well as the bad. They have also served their country well. As we conclude our presentation, we hope your spirits have been lifted today. We are proud of all of our veterans and are grateful that they chose to serve our country. Their courage and sacrifice on our behalf are acknowledged and greatly admired. We would ask that all our special guests please remain here in the theater until the students have been dismissed. On behalf of Morgan Park Academy and our chapters of National Honor Society and National Junior Honor Society, we would like to present each of you with a token of appreciation before you leave this afternoon. We hope this helps to express even a fraction of our gratitude for your service to all of us. Everyone else, please stay seated until your grade or division has been dismissed. Thank you and have a great day.